Mondo, and I'm back to read you Clean Getaway. We are all the way up to Route 8, which is our next chapter, and this is called Onward. At first, Scoob thinks he's dreaming. The trek back to the RV through the woods would have seemed uneventful to any casual observer. Jima blabbed about recognizing poisonous plants and berries, Scoob retaining exactly zero of what she said, and also told him Shanice had stopped by looking for him because he hasn't been answering text messages or online gaming requests. Scoob's mind was elsewhere, though. Between the stuff about Jima's dad, what it could mean in reference to Scoob's mom, and this whole thing about making it right, Scoob barely registered eating dinner, getting ready for bed, and climbing up to the overcab bunk. In all honesty, the whole random campfire scenario made him feel like something with Jima was off. Now as he hears, "I'm gonna fix it," for the third time, and his eyes pop open, he knows something is. "I messed up before, I know it," Jima mutters at the dark back end of the RV. "I failed you, but I'm making it right. We're going all the way this time. Everything will be fine." Scoob stares at the ceiling, which seems lower than the previous night, his heartbeat chugging between his ears like a runaway train. He's thirsty. Just like on nights when his brain is too full and he has bad dreams, he always wanders into Dad's room, and the minute he climbs into the king-size bed, Dad gets up and comes back with a glass of water. He wishes Dad were here. Also, his arm hurts. When he went to change the bandage today, the cut was redder than he expected. Seems sort of warm now? Maybe that's his imagination. Anyway, there's no chance he's going back to sleep right now, so he climbs down from the bunk as quietly as possible. He'll play one of those games on her phone where you don't have to think. He picks it up from the dash and slides into the passenger seat, presses the unlock button to illuminate the screen. There's 17 missed calls, all from Dad. Scoob pushes the unlock code, his birth date, and discovers there are also voicemails. He's tempted to listen to one, but if he does, Jima will know, just like Dad must have that time Scoob listened to the message from his mom. He guesses he could just delete it after, since there are 7, it looks like, but that doesn't sit right either. Didn't Jima just talk to Dad earlier? Why would he call so many times if they've already spoken? Jima murmurs something incoherent, and then Scoob hears a mechanical creak as she shifts in her bed. He wants to go check on her, wake her, let her know Dad's trying to get a hold of them, because something's not sitting right in the gut she's always telling him to trust. But it's 3 a.m, probably shouldn't wake a sleeping grandma unless there's a tried and true emergency. There was this one time he screamed bloody murder in her backyard because a bird had pooped on his head, and she came flying out faster than he knew she could run. Said he almost gave her a gosh darned heart attack. Maybe he shouldn't do that again. He sighs, certainly not the mindset to play a game anymore. Not knowing what else to do, he returns the phone to the dash, climbs back into bed. After pulling back the bunk curtain, he opens a small window near his head and lies face up. Let the music of the woods outside, chirping crickets, hooting owls, wind and leaves fill his head. His eyes drift shut. When Scoob wakes up, he's moving? There's a bump and his entire body lifts from the mattress, definitely in motion. "Jima!" "He has risen," she replies from beneath him. He shakes his head, though he can't help but grin. "I wasn't dead, Jima. Could have fooled me. What time is it?" 11:43 a.m. Central. 11:43? Has he really been asleep for 8 hours? Scoob flips to his stomach to look out the window. Trees zip by in a blur of bright green. Where are we? The grand old city of Meridian. She breaks out in song. M-I, crooked letter I. This makes Scoob smile. Jima taught him that when he was maybe 3. Took him until 2nd grade to realize he was spelling Mississippi. "There's breakfast down in the fridge for you, but you might as well hold off since it's darn near lunchtime. We'll stop and stretch our legs. Eat at a real table. Let somebody else do the cooking and cleaning for once." "Okay." "Why don't you come on down and keep your old Jima company? It's lonely down here without a passenger, Jimmy." Jimmy? Which Jimmy she's referring to? It's what she calls Scoob's dad and how she sometimes refers to G-Pop. Scoob doesn't know, but it makes him uncomfortable either way. Jima's moaning and groaning and sleep-talking last night, crash over Scoob, and now he has to get out of the bunk. It suddenly feels like the ceiling's trying to smush him. There's no way he can look at her now, so he grabs the road map for the sake of somewhere to put his eyes just in case. William, Jima," he says. He slides into the passenger seat. "What's that? You called me Jimmy. Oh, gracious." She laughs and smacks the steering wheel. "Guess I'm having flashbacks to the last time I was in this town." That just makes Scoob more anxious. "We're going all the way this time," she said in her sleep. "Going all the way where? And why is she so determined to get there?" Matter of fact, what did Jima even see in G-Pop? "Jima, what made you marry a criminal?" "Say what now?" Flabbergasted. "G-Pop, I mean," Scoob goes on. "It's just, I know he got sent to prison. What would make a lady like you marry a guy who liked to steal from people?" "Who says he liked it?" "Huh?" You asked what would make me marry a man who liked to steal. What makes you think he liked it? Scoop's not sure what to say. I mean, he was convicted for a bunch of thefts, right? The corner of her mouth twitches. Yes. So? Jima turns to him with her eyes narrowed. Is she mad? Scoop can't remember a single time he's ever made Jima truly mad. He gulps. Let me ask you a thing or two, she says. Okay. Do you like fighting? Scoop's jaw clenches. No, ma'am. What about computer cheating? He sighs. How do grown-ups always manage to flip everything back on a kid? I didn't cheat, Jima. Allow me to rephrase. Do you like helping others cheat? Scoop doesn't reply. Well, Jima prods. No, I don't. So people don't have to enjoy the wrong when they're doing it? I guess not, Scoop says. Your grandfather made some poor decisions that hurt people, your father included, but he's not the only one. Now Scoop's a little mad. I get it, Jima. I made some mistakes too. I'm not talking about you, William. You're not? No, I'm talking about me. I know your dad is still angry with his father. Probably will be for the rest of his life. He's great at holding a grudge, Jimmy Jr. is, Jima says, but there's a lot he doesn't know. This makes Scoop extra uncomfortable, but what's he supposed to say? Try telling him that. This makes Jima laugh. You've got his wit for sure. Too bad I don't have his self-discipline, Scoop says with a smile. At least that's what he's always saying. The words ring through Scoop's head. You know what you need, William? Some self-discipline. Thought it would run in the blood, but I guess not. Every time Scoop hears it, he wants to say, being criminally minded doesn't run in the blood either, so maybe you should quit treating me like it does. By some miracle, he's resisted. He'll come around, Jima says. You'll see, and if not, who cares? You and me will be on a beach in Mexico, living our best lives. Scoop's inner alarm bells go off. Now all he's seeing in his head are those 17 missed calls. He clears his throat. You, talked to him this morning? My dad, I mean? Nope, she says. Haven't heard a word from him since yesterday. And he hasn't called? Sure hasn't. Guess he finally decided to take a chill pill. She chuckles. Speaking of chill, Scoop loses the one in his mind and feels a different one shoot down his arms. His eyes dart around the inside of the cabin in search of the phone, but it's nowhere in sight. He knows he didn't erase those missed call notifications. Surely she saw them, but why would she lie? She clicks the blinker to exit the highway and Scoop gulps. So where are we headed now? Ye old Cracker Barrel. They pull to a stop at the top of the exit ramp, and then we hit a store and restock our supply of victuals and beverages. And after that, you are sure full of questions today, she says. She turns to him to smile. It's almost sinister? Nah, no way. For Jima, for goodness sake. Pull together, Scoop. She faces back forward, but not before Scoop takes note of the scary little spark in her blue eyes. After that, she says, onward. Route 9, places to be. Scoop's apprehension continues through Bunch, as Jima calls it, especially since she makes him bring his backpack into the restaurant with her treasure box inside and glances at it every few minutes like it's going to suddenly sprout legs, hop up and scurry away. It's weird. However, on the way out, when Jima pulls her phone out of her pocketbook to snap a pic of Scoop after making him plop down on one of the wooden rocking chairs and Cracker Barrel in front of the porch, she discovers it's off. How and when it got the way, Scoop doesn't know. He doesn't think he shut it off when he was handling it, but maybe it's possible. Anyway, when she turns it on and says, oh, looky here, your daddy called, before lifting it to her ear to listen to the voicemails, Scoop's heart unclenches. So maybe she didn't lie. It takes a huge breath of Mississippi air into his lungs and blows it out. Though he still can't help but watch her closely. Her expression says neutral. But after half a minute or so, she rolls her eyes and waves her hand in the air like she's swatting away a mosquito and pulls the phone away from her face. What'd he say? Scoop can't help but ask. I don't even want to know. Sit down so I can get a photo of you. Scoop does what she says, and Jima holds the phone up, grins. My most favoriteest grandson, she says. I'm your only grandson, Jima. Oh, hush, and bring your hiney, she says with a chuckle before heading back to the Winnebago. And just as she said, they head to the grocery store. On the way back to the highway, though, things take another turn for the strange and unusual. As they're passing a shopping center, Jima says, ooh, a jewelry store, and decides to turn off. Do we need jewelry? Scoop asks. Humor me, will ya? Not like he has any choice in the matter. She's the adult. The minute they step inside, Jima clasps her hands beneath her chin and sighs. You think she's stumbled into heaven. As she wanders around, gazing into the glass cases full of stuff so sparkly, some of it hurts Scoop's eyes to look at. He decides to try and make the most of the distraction. He sidles up beside her. So, what'd my dad say, Jima? He says, all nonchalant, like, oh, you know him, she replies. But Scoop's not letting it slide this time. He knows how many times Dad called. He want anything in particular? Other than killing the joy? Nope. She starts whistling, which sets Scoop's internal alarms off again. He knows from years of playing Texas Hold'em with Jima that whistling is a bluffing tell. You gonna call him back? Maybe later, she says, wandering over to a case at eye level with a necklace with a jewel the size of a ping pong ball. For now, why don't you just tell me more about the latest issue between you two? What do you mean? Except Scoob has a feeling he knows where this is going. I want to hear about the computer cheating, she says. And just like that, she's flipped it on him again. Scoob sucks his teeth. Come on, Gma, he says, glancing around. The store is empty, but the man behind the central counter with the ring of keys has been watching them ever since he walked in. He kind of wants to leave. You don't want to hear this right now, do you? Unless you'd rather talk about your young lady friend, Shanice. No! Scoob scratches the back of his neck, his nervous tell. Gma laughs outright. It's just that there are more interesting things we could discuss, like when you were my age or why we're in a jewelry store. When she doesn't respond immediately, Scoob turns to look at her. Her eyes are sad. Oh, I was downright menace at your age, Scooby-Doo. You were? I'm not proud of it, but my favorite pastimes at 11 were pickpocketing and petty theft. Scoob's sure he looks like she just told him she knows all sorts of things. He knows she mentioned some poor decisions, but stealing? Whoa! It's just what I meant earlier. There's a whole heap you don't know about your Gma, kiddo. Scoob doesn't respond. What you should know is that I'm concerned. Knowing what I was like at your age, I'm real curious about the whys of the trouble you've been in. She waves the key ring man over and points out a ring. It's got red stones running all the way around. She slips it onto her finger and holds up her hand to admire it. You know, my name is Ruby, she says to the guy. Todd, his name tag says. He smiles. It's perfect for you, ma'am. Now Scoob's smiling too. It really does look pretty on her. So tell me about this academic fraudulent scandal is what they called it, right? She says, jolting Scoob back to the moment. He rolls his eyes. Mr. Atzbani, the computer science teacher, had been so extra about the whole situation. There hadn't been anything scandalous about it. It was a mistake, he says. Alrighty, do tell. Scoob sighs. Everything happened in computer science. And not to brag, but I can do 90% of the work there with my eyes closed and a hand tied behind my back. Gma laughs, but Scoob is serious. He's known his way around computers since pre-K. He always got 100 on the quizzes. Atzbani made them take at the beginning class every day, always. Except for one time 2 weeks before spring break when Scoob was going too fast and clicked B instead of C on question 8. He remembers smacking his forehead because he blurted, "Ow!" in a loud whisper, and a bunch of his classmates had turned to look at him. He was embarrassed about that. But when he finished the quiz and that 90% glared tauntingly at him from the score report page, I couldn't handle it, Gma, he says. All I could hear in my head was Dad's voice rambling on about careless mistakes and how they would ruin my future. He shakes his head. I considered going to my teacher. Was it really a big deal, though, kiddo? You said you'd gotten all 100s prior. What's 190? Well, how could he explain? The way Dad puts it, there will always be people who don't want to see boys like Scoob do well. Dad's never said it explicitly, but Scoob knows he means black boys. So it's vital that Scoob never give anyone a reason to doubt his capabilities, which is something Scoob understands beneath his skin and down in his bones somewhere, but he doesn't know how to put it into words. I mean, Dad says, "Oh, fiddlesticks on that," she interrupts, which surprises Scoob, so he jumps. That old goat, go on with your story. Okay. Sorry, she says. He's just been so hard on himself. Your dad hasn't. It grinds my gears. He's transferred it to you. She waves to Todd again, points out a pair of earrings Scoob thinks are diamond, and they have a pinkish tint. Ah, yes, the fancy, intense pinks, Todd crows as he hands them to her. Excellent choice. He lays a mirror on the counter. What happened with your teacher, she says, as she sticks the skinny post into her wrinkly earlobes. Scoob sighs, trying to recenter himself in the story. It's not that I thought the teacher would change my grade or anything. I just wanted to know that I knew the right answer, but when I looked up, he was laser-eyeing me like I farted in class or something. Gma lets out a barking. Ha! Scoob smiles and continues. Dad would say I'm making excuses, but I don't think Mr. Atzbani likes me very much. Every time I get a good grade or raise my hand to answer one of his questions, he frowns. Anyway, deep down, I knew I'd have to cut my losses and take the L. The L? For loss? Oh, I see. Go on. But it was bugging me so bad that I knew the right answer, but I accidentally got it wrong. So what happened next, she asked. Well, there were still 8 minutes left on the quiz clock. So I decided to use the extra time to take a peek at the coding, he says. The quizzes are always multiple choice, the way the software was set up. Choosing an answer on a question takes you straight to the next question. So I was trying to see if there's any way to change the answer from inside. Gma points to a necklace with a ruby pendant and a bracelet covered in diamond shaped like diamonds. Last 2, I promise, she tells Todd with her crinkly smile as he unlocks another case. Whatever you need, ma'am, take your time. I'm here all day. Wink. As soon as he walks away, Scoob goes on. I swear I wasn't going to change it, Gma. I just wanted to see if it was possible. Okay. And? Well, once I skimmed the block of code, I saw I could change the scores and my teacher would see on the computer screen when he walked around the room to jot down everyone's grades, so I gave it a try. I knew from seeing the rest that I'd have to do my actual score to reappear. Let's click the refresh button. Gemma steps up to a big mirror and examines the newly bedazzled self. You're speaking Greek, but continue. She turns this way and that. Scoob sighs. What I'm saying is there was a spot on the back end where I could change my 90 to 100, and when I did, and then returned the score to the report screen, it read 100%. William! Gemma puts one little fist on her hip, all indignant like. I didn't leave it that way, Gemma, though he'd wanted to. Like I said, when I refreshed my page, my real score came back, which is where the trouble began. For one, when At's Bonnie came around to record scores and got to Scoob's, he made a snide remark about how Scoob's boastful lack of attention during class was finally making its mark. That made Scoob angry, made Dad's words about people not wanting Scoob to do well so much more real. Scoob was mad, in fact, that when, for two, Cody Williams, the soccer superstar who sat to Scoob's left and constantly stretched so that he could peek at Scoob's screen during class, approached Scoob and said he'd seen what Scoob had done with the scores and wanted to learn how to do it, well, Scoob agreed. And Cody was careful. He changed his scores gradually over the next few days and told At's Bonnie he'd been studying harder. Did Scoob feel a pang of guilt every time he heard Cody clicking around to change his score? Yeah, he did, but Scoob ignored it. He wasn't the one cheating after all. Except things got complicated because Cody taught Daisha, and Daisha taught Holly, and Holly taught Bryce, and so on and so on. And within a couple of weeks, the class average had risen to 97%, and At's Bonnie got suspicious. I'll never forget the day everything came crashing down, Scoob says as they approach the center counter, and G-Ma begins to remove all the jewelry she's wearing. I could see it coming. At's Bonnie started his score marking scroll like usual, but when he got to Bryce's computer, he stopped. When his beady eyes got all squinty and he turned to look back at the computers he's already checked, I knew it was over. Sounds like it was bleak. G-Ma takes the earrings off and sets them down. It was dead silent, Scoob continues. At's Bonnie reached out and pushed a key on Bryce's keyboard. And then made us all get up and go stand in the back of the room. I knew he was pressing F5 at each computer before writing scores down. F5? G-Ma asked. Yeah. Refresh. After At's Bonnie wrote the real scores down, he told everyone to stay put and left the room. Not a single person breathed a word in his absence. He returned 4 minutes late with the principal in tow. What's nuts is that despite the fact that my score was the one that didn't change, Bryce ratted me out as the mastermind. Yowza, from G-Ma. Yeah, At's Bonnie wanted me expelled with the utmost importance, but Dad and Principal Armand settled on a 5-day suspension. Bye-bye spring break, bye-bye freedom, he sighs. Todd approaches again. So what do you think, young lady, he says to G-Ma. Anything tickle your fancy? Oh, I can't afford any of this, she says, though I appreciate you letting an old gal dream a bit big. When you get to be my age, you never know when you'll just... She makes a choking sound and drags an index finger across her neck. Todd's eyes go wide. Scoob's do too. G-Ma? Alrighty then, Todd says, sweeping the jewelry from the counter, clearly as uncomfortable with G-Ma's declaration of Scoob is. You all enjoy your Sunday, and he jets off. When they get to the door, G-Ma goes to push it open. Scoob notices a flash of red on her hand. G-Ma, wait, you forgot to take the ring off. That gets Todd's attention. Oddly enough, G-Ma looks more caught than shocked. Her face is red as a raspberry. Oh my, she says. Says. Honestly, she looks the same way Bryce did that one time a teacher saw him shove Drake in the school hallway. He tried to play it off and said he tripped. What the heck is going on? Well, guess that's the end of my fancy jewelry shopping for this old bird. I'm losing my marbles. Todd slowly outstretches his hand as G-Ma crosses the store, and Scoob can see he ain't exactly buying her story. But he does let them leave. Well, that was a close one, G-Ma says as they head back to the RV, which is when Scoob notices the license plate. It's white again. It says Tennessee. Let's get a move on, G-Ma says, as if the previous 15 minutes never happened. We got places to be. And when we return next time, we'll read Route 10, which is stays in. So we'll see what that's about then. See you then.